Well, welcome to another Workshop Wednesday, which is all about casual conversations for serious workflows, brought to you by schoolofbookkeeping.com, where it's all about keeping you learning QuickBooks, but your way. And you may notice that Rachel looks a little different today because it's not Rachel. Hi, Chloe. How are you?
Hello, Dan. Thank you so much for having me today. Yes, we love Rachel, but I'm Chloe today, and I'm coming in from Relay Financial.
Right. So we were going to have a three-way conversation here. Rachel was going to be talking about some of the accountant challenges that people see with banking, and Chloe from Relay was going to be here to address some of those concerns as we start this chapter or this series with banking in our workshop series that we're having here at School of Bookkeeping. But you know, clients need what clients need, and Rachel's client needs her. And she
And
just
we
texted
know
me,
that
I
that comes
can't
as
join.
priority, right?
What's that?
We know that that comes always as a priority.
Right, right. So we are offering the grace of go ahead and take care of that client, because that is what is going to keep the lights on for for most accounting firms. So we are going to we're talking about some of the challenges that banks, certain banks and financial institutions will wreak havoc on QuickBooks Online. And from my experience working at Intuit, but also talking to accountants, um, it runs the gamut. But there are some banks that people will have, business owners will have, and typically banks in general. It's one of those things that you need as a business. You need to have a separate business banking account, um, and that tends, how when once that starts, it's one of those things that's pretty hard or difficult to realize to change. So Chloe, what is Relay, and how does well, let's just start there. Let's let's just start. What for anybody that doesn't know, what is Relay Financial? What is Relay Financial?
What is? Why am I here? Yes, so thank you so much, Dan, for that warm introduction. As he kind of mentioned, I'm Chloe. I'm an account manager at Relay, and so I've worked with hundreds of business owners, from solopreneurs to serialpreneurs to multi-entity clients and all things in between, as well as their advisors. So accountants, bookkeepers, QuickBooks professionals like Dan himself, and kind of just show you how to use Relay to better collaborate with your clients, save time, save efficiency. So how do we do that? And what is Relay? Relay, we are essentially a all-in-one money management and banking platform. We were built specifically from the eye of a small to medium-sized business owner. However, we add a lens of the accountant and bookkeeper touch to who support those businesses to kind of better increase your collaboration with your clients, to better increase efficiencies, and to just kind of save you time and help you scale as a business owner. And through that, we have a ton of features in the platform that help a business scale, from AP, AR, checkings, savings, multiple accounts, better clarity and visibility, with a twist where we allow accountants access to kind of come in and assist with better clarity and visibility for reconciliation. We have a direct integration to QuickBooks Online, which completely solve broken bank feeds, and more. But I'll kind of
Yeah.
start there.
Yeah, so we'll dive into some of those things a little bit more. Um, but my experience with Relay, I've had several webinars with Yosef, the CEO, and the thing that I was intriguing about, the origin story is that he he worked for another company, and part of the challenges of what they were facing at that other company was being held up by the bank that they were working with. And so he decided to say, hey, let's just make a bank. Let's become our own financial solution, and that way we can overcome some of those hurdles that we're getting with the bank. And that happens a lot of times with QuickBooks Online and the financial institutions. Like if your bank, you mentioned broken bank feeds, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But when the bank feed breaks and there's this ominous error where QuickBooks cannot talk to the bank to get those statements and those transactions, getting them down, it's a lot of finger pointing, right? If you call QuickBooks, they say, well, you got to talk to your bank, and you talk to the bank, and they say, well, that's a QuickBooks problem, and then it's just this. And the only person that's paying for that is the person that's stuck in the middle, because they have to go back and forth. Well, they told me it was you, and then but they said it was this, and then it, you're not getting anywhere, and that's a frustrating experience. So I applaud Yosef for being able to um, see that and become basically build his own mousetrap to so that doesn't happen, right? So
Exactly.
I think in the 3 years that I've had Relay, um, there's been maybe like one time where it wasn't automatically connected, but I never had to disconnect it and reconnect it, which is often the solution. And I hate that solution because it's a very drastic solution by doing it inside of QuickBooks. I just had to wait for those for whatever was the problem to be rectified, right? And so that was a super um, a great experience. And so when we started to learn about Relay, um, School of Bookkeeping at the time had um, three partners, and they were all in different states. So the traditional method of creating a business bank account is you got to go into the local branch, and fill out paperwork. This was not an online uh, uh, time to do things. Like COVID made that change and that shift as everything went to online and not in person. The banks typically want you to come in and prove your identity and sign all these forms and stuff like that. So we had decided on Truce as the as the business bank account, and in those for those three partners. One was in California. I was in Arizona at the time, and the other one was in South Carolina. Um, no problem for me because
So where do you?
no problem for me because our closest bank was within walking distance. Chase was in the Fry's shopping, so I could just walk in there and do that. No problem for the person in California because they have plenty of Chases. But the one in South Carolina, the closest one was a 2-hour drive away. So that was, built-in friction, right? Like we were trying to figure out, like, what's the best bank to go with, because we all want to have access to a branch, or a close branch, and that was the closest one. And since two out of three of us, it was convenient. We unfortunately the one in South Carolina drew the short end of the straw, and they actually filled out initial banking paperwork on a business trip to California. They got off the plane and went to a branch so that they could start this business bank account. So when we learned about Relay, uh, I was like, oh my goodness, I could set up a business bank account in a half an hour with 3 partners in 3 different states, going from this experience of, oh, somebody had to actually find a trip to run an errand in order to do that, to set up the account. Whereas the flip side of that, it was a half an hour, right? Um, that was an amazing experience, and I'll always be a fan of Relay because of that.
Yeah.
Um,
Dan,
what up?
thank you. Yeah, thanks for sharing that story. I just wanted to kind of say that we hear that all the time at Relay. And not only when it comes to, onboarding a new business to a new banking platform, but when you have that banking platform and you need to send out a large wire, or you need to accept something, or you have to go and prove your identity or apply for a loan, there's so many situations where you have to drive to the bank, you have to wait in line, you have to book an appointment with your account representative. You need all business partners to be at the same location at the same time, and when everybody's in a different state, it could really be something that is going to take a lot of time, take a lot of energy, a lot of resources. Sometimes it can be expensive getting everybody in one place. So not only does Relay make the onboarding process really easy by making it completely online, but once you actually are on Relay, something like depositing a check, something like getting a credit card, something that most of the time you have to go to the bank and prove your identity and then chat with somebody and dress up and provide all the paperwork. You can just do that directly online in less than a minute, depending on what it is.
Right. Yeah. I mean, setting up, and you mentioned debit cards. So talk about some of the other features or built-in functions and benefits that Relay offers to small businesses. Um, like that, like creating virtual debit cards and things like that.
Yeah. So I am so proud to work for Relay, and it seems like every month we're unlocking new features, new products to kind of help our clients and help our business owners thrive. So at the basis, we offer core banking. So we have free checking accounts, free savings accounts that all have accounts payable and accounts receivable. We are quite competitive when it comes to pricing. So the big seller of Relay is that it costs nothing to sign up. It is completely free. There are no sign up fees. There are no monthly fees. There are no overdraft fees. There's no NSF fees. ACH is completely free. Checks are completely free. And the list will go on, but I'm going to get tongue tied by continuing to say the word free. Beyond that, Dan mentioned we have debit cards, we have credit cards all within the platform. We do have a bill pay solution that syncs right up to QuickBooks Online. And guess what? That is also completely free. We also have an accounts receivable feature where you can create invoices directly on the platform, send out invoices attached to payment requests where you can receive the funds directly into Relay on top of that payment request as well, whether that's via a credit card, an ACH, a pay by bank. We have all different kinds of purposes there. And then again, I can keep going on, but my favorite lately is an expense management tool. So all my accountants and bookkeepers and advisors that are listening in today, you would love this. It's basically a financial control center for all transactions that are done through the platform that will auto categorize your QuickBooks category, your QuickBooks vendor, and you can sync this into QuickBooks Online as well.
Yeah.
So all different things. You can kind of create Relay to how your business wants to run. Very flexible, very low cost, and then integrate that with your accounting solution like QuickBooks Online.
Yeah, and that was the big thing for me. In addition to the ease of starting the account, was the freeness of it, because that's what you see a lot in the difference between uh, personal checking and business checking is there's all sorts of requirements for business checking, or there's a fee, right? Because they love to charge
Yeah,
you.
and a lot of hidden fees. A lot of hidden fees too, right?
Yeah.
So you'll look at the statement at the end of the month and think, why did I get charged $30 here? Why did I get charged $4 there? And it really adds up at the end of the year.
Yeah. So not having those requirements of minimum balance requirements, or there was a fee, because that's what we had with the other provider, the other financial institution, was, we have this minimum to make sure that we don't fall below, or otherwise we're going to have, be slapped with a $15 fee, right? So that was something that I really appreciated, was the entry point and the ease of starting up with it. Now, one of the big concerns that accountants have with working with banks and their clients' banks is the access that they may or may not need to have because either based on their engagement with their client, they could be doing a lot of things that require some access to the bank. Being able to get statements. Not relying on the customer to download the statements and send it to them. If you know, they don't want to be the bottleneck, or they don't want their client to be the bottleneck of that, because maybe they are busy doing their business, right? That's the whole reason that they're doing these sort of things. um, what what kind of access does an accountant have to have or get when they are connected with a business client?
Great question. So yes, we hear this all the time. I mentioned that we work with thousands of accountants and bookkeepers, and one of their biggest pain points is client access. We've heard everything. You're either sharing passwords with your clients, which is a big no-no, and you're,
Right.
chasing them down for 2FA codes, or, you are chasing your clients for bank statements, and they're business owners. They're busy. So a lot of the times they're going to get that statement sent to you at not the right time. And then you kind of got to work outside of your billable hours. We've heard everything. With Relay, you can essentially have advisor access into your clients' accounts. You get set up with your own partner dashboard. So the idea is that you only have one login. You log into Relay and you access your dashboard, where all of your clients are centralized under your dashboard with a specific permission level that your client has assigned to you. It read-only access all the way up to your administrator, which is pretty much full control to offer accounts payable and accounts receivable, bill pay access, there's manager access, there's advisor access. And this is kind of up to you and your client to collaborate on what would work best. But it's completely free to have as many advisors and members as you'd like. And it really just helps you as an advisor, instead of, juggling multiple passwords, juggling multiple logins. I've seen folks have Google Docs that have like, hey, this is client A, I have a login and password for them. Client B, login and password for them. With Relay, you just need one. You log in, you have your dashboard, you have all your different clients, and you can just click into whichever client you need. And with whatever permission level you have, you can go ahead and offer your services to them.
Now we're going to have you back in a few weeks, where you're going to talk about some of the features. When you go past the free option and you need a little bit more, like same day ACH, or some of those things that you have different levels of I don't know, what do you call them at Relay, when you have different service level options? You have the free one, and then you have grow and uh, scale, right? And those,
And
that's what they're
scale.
called. But what do you call them in general? Is it just service account types, or what is it? When somebody activates
Yeah,
this,
we
what do you call those?
Yeah, so we essentially call them tiers
Here,
at Relay. So we have the starter. It
not crying
offers every single feature
tears.
that I've kind of. No, 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 no way. No A, just an I, T I. Um, but yeah, so we have the starter pack, which is all the features that I've mentioned. You have access to everything. And then we have the grow and the scale. basically they were created just for businesses that maybe need a little bit more. Maybe they're
Yeah.
doing multiple wires and we can kind of give you a discount at the higher rate. Maybe you're keeping a larger float in there and you want to upgrade and get a higher APY interest. We can do that with the grow and scale tier as well. But just know all the features that we talked about are available on the free tier.
Yeah. So you have like an introductory type of option with those things. And then when you realize the power and the freedom that that Relay offers you to be able to do some of these things, then it's like, okay, I want to do more of that. And you have a calculator where you can, just somebody can put in, their volume of things that they would be doing, and they can see what, you know, how much, not just how much time they're going to be saving because they've already seen that, but how much money they would actually be saving because
It
it's less
is
than,
nuts.
an
Yeah.
alternative.
Yes. So we have the subscription calculator. I'm happy to share it with anybody that wants to kind of play around with it. But you can essentially just input your business operations. You can input the float that you want to keep in the amount, your debit spend, your credit spend, and it will kind of just shoot up a number of not only what tier you would essentially kind of fall in to save you the most money, but it will kind of give you a comparison from some of the big banks. Like you coughed and said Chase or Bank of America or Wells Fargo. You can kind of see the comparison in there of how much you would save and how much you would spend on Relay. We do have a pretty competitive APY on our scale tier, so that will kind of show you how much you can
Yeah.
really generate on Relay. And most of the businesses are making
Yeah.
money, so
So
it's really
we'll talk about that in a little bit more detail when you come back, and we'll talk about those different tiers,
yeah.
and the benefits of those tiers. Um, but I wanted to ask you, and I lost my place of on my questions that I was I was asking you. Um, is there any other standard features that you want to highlight in the starter pack that would be beneficial to an accountant or a small business owner?
Yeah, great question. It's hard to narrow it down because, like I mentioned, there are so many great features on Relay that really help our accountants and bookkeepers and their clients. One of our favorites right now would be our bill pay feature. So, in the past, this was actually something that you would have had to upgrade to unlock, and now we've made it completely free. What takes us a step further is that it's integrated with QuickBooks Online. So the idea is when you upload a bill on QuickBooks, it'll automatically sync right into Relay. You'll be able to have visibility of the bill and what it looks like, and it'll basically kind of auto input the different kind of variables within the bill as well. With the accountant's permission levels and access, the accountant that's maybe offering an accounts payable service can kind of go in, pay the bill. You can set up multi-approval rules too, which is really, really popular. And once the bill is either paid on Relay or is marked as paid, it'll sync right back into QuickBooks Online and mark the bill as paid on QuickBooks Online for you there as well.
So
So
those,
that's one of our top
mhm.
features. I can keep going if you want,
Yeah.
but
No, I mean those are. I mean, the more that you really understand, I mean, the bank, a lot of banks and financial institutions have some of these features, but to your point, if it's, you need some kind of access as an accountant to bank A and then a different login to bank B, it's just adding more and more friction to getting to those things, or you're managing your logins and there's no consistency with the experience, because banks pride themselves on making their experience much different between banks, right? So it's not always the same. So having a consistent banking experience is one of the, I think, one of the better benefits for accounting pros. Um, yeah,
yes.
and so I wanted to kind of shift a little bit to one of the features that I discovered really works well with Relay and QuickBooks Online, right? Because QuickBooks Online has been announcing all sorts of AI improvements inside of QuickBooks Online, and the bank reconciliation is one of those things. And I've seen lots of grumblings of, the AI didn't recognize the statement and they had to send it to, a human to actually do some conversion or inspection of the statement and what it saw that statement to be. And
Yep.
so I was waiting for some of that dust to settle, and at the end of my year, I'm like, okay, I need to reconcile my accounts. I'm going to go do this to my Relay accounts, and I was amazingly surprised. So I made a little video of this whole process, and we'll kind of talk through it. But in the
Yeah.
when you go to reconcile inside of QuickBooks, um, the statements, when you click on the statements, it's gonna automatically download the statement. So that's point number one, is that Relay supports the statement fetch inside of QuickBooks Online. So I didn't have to go download these statements. I didn't have to go pester anybody, myself in this case. But I didn't have to go ask for these statements at all. They were just already here. Now, what I didn't realize until after I had created this video is that um, all I had to do, because it says here on the right that extraction was completed, that means that it's ready to be used. So all I had to do on this side was select the statement that I wanted to use, and I could have saved myself even more time. But what I ended up doing was downloading the statement. You can see me downloading it, and then I uploaded it into QuickBooks Online. So that step would have been, I would have saved myself 30 seconds per statement because, and I wanted to do this as a video because I wanted to show it to you in real time, the how long this actually took me, right? So the majority of the time is it's processing and extracting the data, which it already did when it downloaded the statement. So I could have saved myself time. Now, when there is a an issue, right? And it's never perfect, but of the 12-month statements, I think this only happened 4 times, right? So if you need to look at the transactions, you can send it in to Intuit, and then somebody will inspect it, or you can do it yourself, right? And then here it has the statement on one side and what it extracted from the statement on the other. And you really just need to go through and confirm that what it thought the numbers or the text was is actually what it is. And then that's it, right? So kind of go through, you find it on the statement, you find it on, go back and forth. And there really wasn't anything that I needed to amend here. It was just like, this little icon, for the bank, right? It maybe saw that as a character, right? So the little icon on the statement, right? So for certain transactions, it maybe added an extra character, and it just wanted to make sure that those characters were legitimate, right? Like, and so I had to go through these 4 transactions. One of them, it missed the date, right? So I just had to add the date to the transaction, and then, come on, Dan, move forward, and then you save it, and then it goes right into the reconciliation with, when you start the reconciliation, fills in the ending balance and the statement date for you. And then once the reconciliation screen shows up at the top, which this is new, this is part of that AI reconciliation process. This part up here at the top at the summary, right? Because this is where the rubber hits the road when you're actually doing those bank reconciliations inside of QuickBooks, is you want to see when it's off, right? When it doesn't say the difference is 0, you want to know whether it's deposits and payments, or deposits and credits, or payments leaving, whether it's money coming in or money coming out, where the discrepancy is going to lie. Maybe it's a combination of both, right? But in this particular case, it was all zeros. So I felt the confidence by comparing, the beginning balance between the statement and what was in QuickBooks, and the ending balance of what was in QuickBooks and what was on the statement, and the deposits and the payments. Those matched to the penny. So a quick glance through the transactions, and then I was ready to go on to the next month. This next month. Oh, and then also wanted to point out here that it automatically will attach that statement to the reconciliation report. So I've already got that attachment attached to that, which would have saved me. It's more savings of time, because typically that's what you want to do in when you're reconciling, is attach the statement, so that later on, if there is a discrepancy, it'll help with the troubleshooting and narrowing down of that, right? So love it. I love the 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 reconciliation process with Relay, because the statements are already downloaded, the the extraction is already done. So this video could have been even shorter. It was only longer because I paused it to talk about it. But the whole process, I went through 12 months in less than 30 minutes between all of them. So, what are your thoughts on the whole reconciliation process? What you just saw there? I mean, do you get to see all that stuff, or hear from clients about that?
Of course we do. I mean, it's interesting speaking directly to our partners, accountants, CPAs that are on QuickBooks all the time. And it's really those little things, like you said, Dan, like the extra 30 seconds that you're saving per input, that really add up and take away from those billable hours that you could, be spending your time on more of like advisory for clients, or you can spend your time growing your firm and things like that. It's like those little things that just add up and add up and add up, that really take away from onboarding new clients, take away from getting your books closed, or your clients' books closed for the month, and things like that. So seeing that video was a really great representation of how Relay can just assist with helping save time on those little things to just open up more time for others. And that's kind of a sneak peek. I love hearing about the QuickBooks side. That's such a sneak peek on like what the core passion of Relay is. I know that you talked about Yusuf at the beginning of the call, and like if he was here, I'm sure he would say the same, where we're really working to just increase the efficiency and help business owners thrive and not have to worry about these little things. I have to worry about all these manual things, and just kind of let you do what you're wanting to do, and that's run a business and be a business owner. So I love to see that.
Yeah, and I think one of the things I wanted to talk to Rachel about is that, as an accounting advisor, having Relay as a utility, as a tool, as a recommendation for your clients, if you're bringing on a prospective new client and they're using one of those other banks, right? Like you could, um, typically when you onboard clients, or investigate, what the pricing, right? Because you mentioned billable hours, and of course the industry is trying to get away from that, right? And then the way that they can price their services is by looking at, what am I in for with this client, right? And doing some like diagnostic work by inspecting their QuickBooks, and itemizing out how many bank accounts do they have, how many credit card accounts do they have, how many bills do they pay, through the bill pay service, how many checks are they writing. All of those things can kind of feed into, well, I know I have this with Relay. I don't know if I have these things with the bank that they're currently using, right? So this can be a way for accountants to recommend, because they have this standard of what they know with Relay, and they have this unknown of, regional check, credit union account. What am I going to get with that, right? So they can equate, or balance, right? Like, okay, well, they've got, five PayPal accounts and um, in this unknown bank account. Maybe I'm going to weight that a little higher and as being a little bit more difficult, so that I know what I'm in for. And then when they package their services, they could say, okay, you can add these things, Relay being one of them, and your monthly cost will be X, because I know I'm going to be saving some time, right? Or you could continue to stick with your own bank, and we're going to be having to deal with some of these challenges that I've seen with my other clients, right? And that's going to be a fee of something higher than that, right? Because they know they've got
Yeah.
built in, they've built in some friction or hardships that is going to take time for their, either them or their team members. And so talk a little bit about some of the advantages of setting up an account, for small businesses as well as accountants.
Yeah. So when it comes to opening up an account on Relay, like we kind of talked about, we make it as easy and as seamless as possible. We kind of help with the collaboration with your accountant by giving you accountant's access or giving you the permission level that you'd like to set for your clients. Dan, did you want me to kind of discuss from like the accountant's perspective, or do you want me to discuss more about being a business owner on
Just
Relay?
as a business owner, right? So not only are they going to be saving money with their service provider, whoever that might be, like someone like Rachel, but there's also an advantage of just setting up an account, right?
Yeah. So, one thing that I didn't mention earlier is that Relay actually also has FDIC insurance of up to $3 million per entity. So just by that alone, the standard in United States is 250,000. That's how much, the big banks, the traditional banks, national providers are offering. Whereas with Relay, you're safe, you're more secure, you're settled with the FDIC insurance of up to $3 million. When you open up the account, I mentioned that you're kind of getting this all in one money management platform. It's low fee. You're not going to be spending monthly fees, ACH fees. Limits are a lot higher. We have faster settlement times and all the fun things. We do have a really exciting promotion running right now where if you sign up via the link that Dan's going to share, you'll be receiving a $50 welcome bonus that is going to be deposited. There we go. If you go ahead and click on that link and set up an account with Relay, we have some really exciting advantages and perks for you today. So you're going to be receiving a $50 welcome bonus as long as you fund the account within the first 10 days of approval. As long as you do that, you'll be getting a nice $50 welcome bonus. So what I like to say is instead of paying to open up an account, we're basically paying you.
Yep.
You also get matched with your own dedicated VIP onboarding support specialist when you get started at Relay. What's really great about this is, I can count the times that I've signed up for a new platform and I'm confused and I need help and I have a question. I call the support line and you're on hold, you're emailing and you're getting a robot, and it's just really not a good experience. With Relay, it is so not like that. You get a human being. I think Dan can
Yep.
attest to this with all the amazing conversations we've had together. But you get your own VIP onboarding specialist. I'll be there to help you through that as well, answer questions, get your limits in check, help get you set up with the right APY interest rate for your account, help settle any issues, expedite any requests that you might need, and all things in between as well. And then finally, getting set up on Relay is going to open up, I mentioned this earlier, but faster settlement times, increased transaction limits, and all the things that really in the past have prohibited business owners from growing. We kind of just translated that in a way and kind of mixed that in a way where now we're helping you thrive instead.
Awesome. Well, Chloe, I appreciate you joining us here today and filling in for Miss Rachel, uh, even though it was supposed to be the three of us. So next time on the workshop, we're going to be continuing this kind of conversation with some of the news and updates with QuickBooks. But then in a few weeks, Chloe will be back to talk about some of the expansive features and we'll talk about that calculator, the different rates, savings rates that you can have with the various tiers, and and we'll look forward to having you back in a few weeks on the workshop. And we appreciate everyone that did join us here today in the chat. I do have the link as well as the QR code hovering above Chloe's head. You can just snap a picture of that and learn more about Relay. So until next week, we'll see you, and hope you have a great week ahead.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dan, for